I did not know I could share my screen with my audience. That's awesome. So my I'm really hoping my internet connection is good enough for this. I also was just like breaking my Kindle just now. Never done that before. Also never gone live before. So it's a whole lot of it's a day full of firsts for me right now. Loving that for me. Um I also have people here, so it's also kind of awkward for me. Um if I could get my Kindle to stop, my Kindle just went full on just white. Like nothing was happening with my Kindle. And it was kind of stressing me out, not gonna lie. Honestly, all of this is stressing me out. I might just chill here for a second while I'm waiting for people. Oh my gosh, we have someone joining. Hey, what's up? Currently looking through my highlights of Game of Thrones so I can try to get some good notes for my conversation. Hello, Darren. Darren be daring. I feel like I shouldn't be laughing at that, but that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Who all have we got joining us right now? So sorry, I'm like super entertaining right now looking through my 500 highlights that I have while I'm like breaking my Kindle. Um all right, so I think I'll just begin talking about my feelings on a Game of Thrones. So, if you watched my video on a Game of Thrones, I talked a lot about about breasts because George R. R. Martin, that was his favorite thing to talk about. Also, please let me know if you can hear me okay. I know my microphone is very quiet. Um, Let me get to my notes before I start going crazy. Okay, audio's good? Thank you so much. All right. So, I'll say I haven't read very much fantasy. So I do have some fantasy books in the background because I can't sit in front of my shelves because I have people in the house. But I have a hard time connecting with characters and feeling like the characters are real and feeling like the world is real. And I feel like that's one thing that George R. R. Martin is really good about is making his characters feel real and making me have an emotional connection to them. Whereas, um, I don't know, Elantris, by Brandon Sanderson, didn't really care about the characters, didn't really care what happened to them. Lies of Lochlamora, although I loved that book, um, none of the characters I was super attached to also didn't really care what happened to them, but I did care where the story went. Um, Now I know I don't have very many people joining me today at the moment, so it's just kind of gonna be a conversation, and agree. Feel like it's his largest strength as a writer. Yeah, definitely. I think that um dang, I just like broke off my train of thought. I was gonna say that this is going to be I wanna have a conversation with whoever is here to join, but I'm also gonna try to do this as, sort of like a regular video format where I'll be kind of structured as structured as I can be and talk about the book and, the points that I have written down here. So, With that being said, there are many characters that I feel very strongly about, whether I strongly, strongly like them or strongly, strongly dislike them. And I will say it's a similar feeling like how I feel in Robin Hobb's books with Regal, where immediately I hated him right off the bat. That's how I was with Cersei and um, Jamie, just immediately hating them right off the bat. And I think that to do that as an author, I think that that's really impressive for you to be able to create good villains. And I know that eventually I'm supposed to like Jamie, which I feel like is a spoiler, but I already know that now. So it's whatever at this point. I know that I'm supposed to hate Jamie I'm supposed to like Jamie eventually. I just kind of I'm refusing to believe that right now. I don't want to think about how I'm eventually going to be on his side because I strongly dislike him. All right. So I did want to mention George R. R. Martin has a really good way of telling you information without feeling like you're info dumping or like he's info dumping on you. So I really like that. Sorry, I just had to press the skip ads button. Um, I really like that he will tell you stories through Nan to like he's talking through Nan basically, telling you the history, but it doesn't feel like, "Oh, hello, Matt. I'm so glad to see you." I don't feel like it's an inherent thing that you'll like him. It's just that a lot of people do end up liking Jamie as a large amount still end up not liking him. Okay, I appreciate that. I also wish I could have your message pop up. I actually don't know how to do that. I've seen other people do it. I don't know how to do it, but it's fine. Where was I? You guys, my train of thought is terrible. Oh, yes. Talking about descriptions through characters. What was it? Another way that I enjoyed it? I like getting information through characters. Um, just I feel like he has such a way of interweaving um like conversations with characters with each other, and then that is telling you the history. That's telling you the information that you need to know of something that's going to come up. It's telling you the history of the place that you're in. Um, and I really, really enjoy that about his writing. I think that it definitely doesn't feel like info dumping. It doesn't feel like you're reading a textbook. Oh my gosh, thank you. I also love my Teddy Ursha plush. I convinced my husband that we should get it because it matches our orange couch. And it worked, obviously. Also, let's do a quick side note of all these books I have here. And I strategically do have them placed here for an actual reason. So obviously we have Game of Thrones here. I don't know if you guys actually care about this, but I'm going to talk about it because I care. So we've got Game of Thrones here because it's obviously the book I'm talking about. Malice is the book that I'm currently reading. Please let me know if you guys have read this or not before, what you thought about it, without spoilers, because we're only kind of trying to do some spoilers for Game of Thrones. Rage of Dragons, The Blade Itself. I bought these two books recently, and I'm very, very excited about these two books. Um, I've heard a lot about The Blade Itself and Joe Abercrombie just in general, and it's kind of out of my comfort zone, and so I am pretty excited about that. Rage of Dragons being, I believe it's like African inspired by a specific tribe, and then The Bone Ships here by R.J. Barker, which is I picked it up and I had heard some about it. Now the cover is beautiful. That is one of the main reasons. I will not lie about that. The cover is absolutely beautiful for this. Look at that. It's probably not going to focus, but it's beautiful. I love it. That's one of the main reasons, and then I actually when I was in Barnes& and Noble, I was reading it, and I was like, "Wow, the writing is actually beautiful right off the bat." And then we have Royal Assassin, which is my shame book that I have here right now because I really need to read it. I read half of it and then stopped because I got depressed. So, but that is how it goes. Alright, so that's my little backstory of why I have these books here specifically. Let's get back to A Game of Thrones, what you guys came here for. Oh, Alex Shule, you know what? I am so excited to see you because I was hoping you would come in. Faithful and the Fallen is a good series. Mouse is the slowest and probably my least favorite of them, but I still really enjoyed it, if that tells you anything. It does, and I have heard that that's actually quite a popular opinion, I feel like, is that The Faithful and the Fallen is great, and that Malice is the worst, but it's still better than a lot of other fantasy books that people like. So that's saying a lot, being that it's the slowest in the series. But I feel like there's something special about a first book because I love a good setup. Like, let's talk about Lord of the Rings for a second, right? Because if we like Game of Thrones, probably also at least enjoy Lord of the Rings. I'm wearing a Lord of the Rings shirt. I have a Lord of the Rings tattoo. Now I have it also for religious meanings, but um because there's a lot of religious allegory in Lord of the Rings, which is one of the reasons I do love it so much. That's my personal bias, but we're all allowed to be biased about some things sometimes. Um, but I do love a good beginning to a story. I love spending time in the Shire and just the calm before the storm. Okay, Albert M said, "Hi, welcome. I have heard of most of these and I want to read them someday. I'm a slow reader. I don't know why this freaking heart is in the way and I can't read this chat. That's actually kind of making me upset. And reading my old token books. Oh, LOL, speak of Lord of the Rings." I feel like I always have to bring Lord of the Rings in at some point. I I love Lord of the Rings. Again, haven't read much fantasy, but just like I mean, a Game of Thrones. Let's talk about that. I can't. I can't with myself right now. um, it's definitely not a cozy beginning. And I actually really like that because it's something that's very different for me where okay, I guess not because the Liza Lock Lamora is not a cozy beginning either. Um, but I like that it's not cozy, but I do love when first books are cozy, and I do love setup because I love finding out about a new world, and I do love the learning curve, although that may not be everybody's cup of tea. I think that for me, one of the things I love about reading is that it helps with my memory and it helps with my attention span that I have to go through the book and be like, they're talking about, wherever they're at in the world. And I have to go back and look at the map and be like, okay, well, where are we at? What are we talking about right now? Who are these characters? Who are they related to? And you have to keep going back and forth and back and forth. And I actually really do enjoy that because I'm starting to like work that part of my brain of um, my memory and also just, I love a good complex story, which is absolutely what Game of Thrones is. This is a culture shock in terms of how many characters you're introduced to, and I did honestly keep getting confused by, like, um I'm so sorry. Train of thought thing again. I did keep getting confused by the brothers, the Hound and his brother. See, I'm, like, literally not even remembering the names right now, but I kept getting confused because I was like, "Which one's the Hound again? And which one's the Mountain?" Because I'm getting confused and I'm not remembering, the Barristan? Y'all can help me out here. I know y'all know this better than me. Also, please ignore that I have a double microphone right here, but was I okay, we're going straight into spoilers, guys, like, immediately right now. Um, uh, Sandor is the hound and Gregor is the mountain. Thank you, because I really do keep forgetting that, and I wanna say Sandor is the one I like because of the conversation that he had with Sansa. Okay. Was I surprised at all when Ned died? Did you know going in that the main characters were going to die? Okay, let me be honest with you guys. I am kind of addicted to watching YouTube videos. I love Mike's book reviews and Bookborn, and multiple others, but I'll say those are my top 2 for Game of Thrones content. Now, Mike will constantly talk about how characters die. Your favorite characters are going to die. So I definitely was not surprised that Ned died, and I did watch Bookborn's spoiler full video about a Game of Thrones and then literally remembered nothing somehow. Like info like the information that went to my brain absolutely just gone. Done. So I would say I was slightly surprised that Ned died. However, I was not exactly emotionally attached to Ned in the way that maybe I should have been, where did I feel bad for his daughters? Yes, and oh my gosh, don't even get me started on freaking Sansa right now. Um, we will though. We will get there. The first Law trilogy and the rest of Joe Abercrombie's work is all amazing, and reading his stuff over the past year has shot him up to one of my favorite authors. His characterization is top tier. I'm super excited for that, Alex. I am very excited for the way that he builds his characters, and I have watched multiple interviews with Joe Abercrombie in it and him talking about his characterization and how he cares more about that and the specific character stories within the story instead of the gigantic world and the greater scheme of things. He's really focusing on his characters, and I think that that is going to be what's going to get me very emotionally attached to his characters and to his story. And of course, we love a good morally gray. I mean, could we even call them morally gray, or are they like mostly just like morally not great? Or is it kind of like Eliza Locke where technically they're morally gray. They'd be the villains in another story, but within Lies of Locke, they're um kind of good, I guess. Robin Hood-ish, but for themselves. Sometimes you just gotta chase that bag. You gotta do what you gotta do for that bag. All right, so I'm gonna continue on with my little bullet points here that I have. Um oh yeah, going back into the descriptions, we got we got more about the past and the present with each chapter. Really enjoyed that. The way the plot would thicken was very interesting to me. I did enjoy it. I think that it definitely took me a very long time to finish Game of Thrones. Like it took me 3 months. And I think that that is a very long time, and I am a slow reader, but even for me, that was a long time. And I know that it's like 290,000 words or something like that. Um it's a lot, honestly. Um The first thing that I would say kind of not put me off from the book because obviously I do really like it, was the whole Daenerys situation, and also, like, the way he would describe Daenerys as a young person. I don't wanna talk about it too much because I don't wanna be super negative, but the series giving Daenerys a titty twister as and it was almost sensual, made me very uncomfortable because they're brother and sister, but also the "Don't wake the dragon." It was very cringy to me. Um, I I definitely wasn't scared of the series, and I am so glad that he died. I was so happy. That is didn't realize I was gonna be so violent, but sometimes fantasy books just make you feel kind of violent towards the characters, which is what I'm saying. Like, he made me attached to those characters in the way that I wanted them to not be around anymore. And I've also read The Rage of Dragons and the sequel. Okay. It's a very gripping revenge story with a unique setting and great action. I think the third book in the series will come out soon as well. That's always exciting that the authors are coming out with the books and you know that like they're continuing with their stories, unlike some people. George. Um oh yeah, I was obviously very upset with what happened to Bran. I'm gonna try to go as chronologically as I can, kind of talking about this, and feel free to ask me any sort of questions about how I feel about characters, plot points, literally anything. I'm here for you guys. I literally just want to talk to you guys. Like, and I also thought, oh, I'll live stream. This will be easier than recording a video. It's not. It's really not. It's unfortunate, but it's fine. It's fine. I have the ghettoest setup right now. Um, maybe I'll take a picture and post it and be like, "Here you go. This is what my setup was actually looking like." But anyway, so when oh, oh my gosh, I just remembered when Bran was climbing and instead of George literally just writing out, "Here is the layout of my land," it was through Bran's eyes while he was climbing. And maybe I'm just easily impressed. You know what? I know that I'm easily impressed because I haven't read very much fantasy, but I really did enjoy that because it's like, who would think to have this child love climbing and then describe his surroundings to tell the reader about the layout of the land and how the castle's set up and like, how Winterfell is set up. How did you feel about Tyrion doing a somersault? Doing a somersault when? I'm trying to remember exactly what you're talking about. I would say good. I'm so sorry. I don't remember this, honestly. Um, also, am I supposed to end up also empathizing with Cersei or just Jaime? Because I dislike Cersei even more than Jaime. Okay. The fact that they obviously get found out by Bran and then they attempt to kill him. And of course, for us as the readers, it is very, very frustrating that we know what happened. And then Bran has amnesia of the situation. It's so frustrating, but I'm also not surprised because I feel like eventually Bran may remember. I at least am holding on to hope for that. And then, like, obviously, his family already knows that, that the Lannisters are out to get him because he has information. So they know that they're kind of like catching on to the clues. Um, okay, more talking about not wanting to empathize with the twins. Oh, and the fact that they're twins. I literally forgot about that. I'm upset. I literally forgot about that. I can't believe it. Oh, man. It just gives me the ick, and I know that that's how you're supposed to feel, and I think that is also another thing that I definitely appreciate about George R. R. Martin and writing about incest and, other things is he's not glorifying it, he's not romanticizing it. It's very much like, this is supposed to be gross. I'm going to have to leave, but I'd give my 2 cents on a few books and say, "Hey, keep up the great work on the vids and have a good one." Thank you so much, Alex, for joining. I appreciate you. Appreciate all your comments and talking with you in the comments. I appreciate talking with everyone. It has truly been awesome just to have this hobby and be able to talk with you guys. Um, and John Tyrion does a crazy fall, flip, handstand, leap back into his feet from the top of a doorway of the Great Hall at Winterfell. Okay. At the moment, I am a Tyrion. Is it Tyrion? Tyrion? I stan him. I really do like him. Um, Now he obviously does things that I don't exactly agree with, but I just realized I've been watching this not live. I didn't think to hit the live button when I joined. Sorry if my comments didn't make sense at any point. No, you're good, Matt. Don't even worry. Listen, I barely knew how to set up the stream. So, like, no worries. None at all. Yes, we love Tyrion stans. Yes. Okay. Best character? Okay. Okay. All I'm going to say is that I am a younger sister. I have an older sister. George R. R. Martin, he did so good with writing young female characters. Where I was like, there's no freaking way that you described me and my sister's relationship. Except like way worse because obviously like me and my sister are closer than like Sansa and Arya. That being said, at the current moment, probably because of my bias, Arya is my favorite character, one of my favorite characters, and I do love Tyrion as well. For obvious reasons. Like he's awesome. Um, Even though he is questionable. Arya, y'all wait till I start talking about their ooh, Sansa makes me so angry. Arya is a valid take. She is probably in the top 5. Okay, Matt, have you read all of the books that are out so far? Because that is an interesting take. Because this is obviously just my opinions based on the first book. Yes, okay. I love to see that. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I was like so many things that I'm excited to talk about. Okay, so the knife situation when someone had come in and tried to murder Bran after the incident, and okay, tell me if it's Caitlyn or Catelyn because I've heard it both ways. Let's go with Cat because I know a lot of people just call her Cat. When she is she she catches this would have been murderer, and she kills him, and she's on the ground hysterically laughing. Can you imagine going into a room and freaking Rob comes in? Catelyn, thank you. Can you imagine going into a room and seeing your mother with a freaking knife in her hand, bloody, like, dude on the ground, and she's hysterically laughing? I'm getting chills because that scene was terrifying. Because that was insane. I did not expect that. And I think it's before that moment. Maybe it was after. On top of his unconscious brother's bed. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Guys, I'm trying to skip all these ads for you guys because Joker from Batman vibes right there. True. Um Oh, yeah, I think it's afterwards, but Rob talking to his mother saying, "Hey, Rickon needs you. He's 3 years old, and here you are, literally rotting away at Bran's bedside." I was like, "Rob, you are so emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent," and I think that's one of the things I talked about in my video is that people forget how emotionally intelligent young people can be and are. And I definitely appreciated that scene. And Rob is also in my top favorites. Um, he's definitely growing up to be a good young man. Um, Bran's dream with the Ravens have definitely been frustrating me because I want Bran to remember, not even for the sake of telling other people, but just for the sake of him remembering for himself. Because as a person with memory issues, it is so irritating when I cannot remember something that's happened in my life where I'm like, wow, I literally do not remember watching this movie, something stupid, but for it to be something like a life threatening situation that he does not remember. It's frustrating for me. It's for him to not know. Also, thank you, Matt. Yes, the intelligence bit. Um, oh my gosh. Joffrey. Also, I was questioning some bit of magic coming into the story. It had something to do with Bran's dreams, but I do not remember because, like I said, it took me 3 months to read this book. When I was taking these notes, it was like May. So, um, Joffrey showing his power over the butcher's boy, and then Arya manning up and attacking him, which I was like, heck yeah, Arya, you go get him, please. And then Joffrey, turning around and trying to attack her. And trying to conceal my anger for Sansa. Because see, Arya's top 5 material. Yes, yes. I mean, honestly, she's like top 3 for me at the moment. I don't even know if I could give you a top 5 right now. Let me think about it as I'm reading through this. Rob is definitely I feel like Rob is up there. Like I'm liking the kids are being smarter than the adults, which is that like a life lesson or what? Okay, I'm sorry. Um Oh, yeah, so Arya runs away for days because of the whole situation, and then the Hand goes and finds the butcher's boy and kills him, and not only kills him, but if I can remember, he, like, chops up his body and has it in a bag. Also, who for whoever joined the stream at me saying that, I'm so sorry, but I was I was so surprised by the level of craziness that was, and that the butcher's boy obviously did not deserve that. I was enjoying Arya having a friend, Arya having someone that she could go to and practice something that she loved to do, her little sword fighting and fighting in general. I can definitely tell that Arya is going to be a strong woman, a strong character. I really hope that she lives. I'll be very sad if she doesn't. But, she's definitely she's definitely up there. I'm sorry. Sansa, I'm sorry. Sansa makes me so angry because she is so narcissistic. She's so frustrating. Because listen, Sansa, listen here, girl. Your freaking wolf would have been alive if you wouldn't have been dumb and you would have just told the freaking truth and didn't care about Joffrey's ugly freaking self. Uh, ugly being, like, outside and inside. Like, he I hate Joffrey, and I hate Sansa. Now, will I empathize with them later? I don't know. I don't really care right now because off of the beginning, I just know that I hate them, and, I just think so much crap could have been avoided if Sansa would not been selfish. Like, what if Ned would have lived if Sansa wasn't selfish? I feel like there's a lot of theorizing we can do of what things could have happened if Sansa didn't make the decisions that she did. Speaking of people who are annoying, the king who died, um, he is he was oddly very disrespectful to Cersei, and I feel like he probably has some hate for her because that is not the person that he wanted to marry. He wanted to marry Ned's sister, and I feel like that is why he is so disrespectful to her. And, like, in the beginning, I'm like, "Why is he talking to his wife this way? Why is he being so disrespectful to her blatantly if he doesn't know what we know? If he doesn't know that she's messing around with her brother?" I don't understand, but I think I literally just put it together. If you guys have other theories, let me know. But my thought is, like, he is resentful towards her because she's not the person he wanted. She doesn't have the qualities that he wants. Um, you know, he's also a slut. But I guess a lot of people in this story are. As far as I know, Ned was pretty loyal, which I did appreciate. Ned is definitely up there for me. And I have seen that some people actually really dislike him and then continue to dislike him as they look back on the series, which I think is very interesting. And I would love to know what you guys think on that because I mean, I like him. I'm really glad that he at least tried to get Robert's sons, like proper sons, to be on the throne instead of himself or freaking Joffrey, but then, he ends up dying and then Joffrey ends up on the throne anyway. Um, freaking hate that kid. You could definitely tell within like 20-30%. Ned is also top 5. He is probably number 1 or 2 for me in the whole series. Okay. Okay. So I wonder who and why to hate Ned. Oh, I called out Littlefinger being sus, but also helpful. But I mean, he called that out himself, like 30% in. And excuse me, I'm sorry. And the hinting at war that war may happen. I knew crap was about to go down. I literally wrote whose side is old man on that Ned was talking to. What am I talking about? Literally, my incomprehensible notes sometimes. Oh my gosh, I loved when Ned set up the sword fighting lessons for Arya. She deserved that. Oh my gosh, and he freaking her sword fighting master freaking died. I forgot about that. It's like I'm being her all over again. Will Duncan. Hello, Will. Ned is pretty well regarded by characters in the story after his death, and it is definitely a motivating factor for certain groups later on in the series. I love that. He is 100% still obsessed over Ned's sister, Lyanna, but it is more that they just generally have a bad relationship and have for years, and we're being dropped into it. Okay, that's fair. Um, that's fair. Probably that makes sense. Oh my gosh, when Viserys. Oh, I love Ser Jorah, by the way. He's also up there. I totally forgot about her sword master dying. That was so sad. Rip that dude. I know. Miss him. Sirio? Sirio, I think his name is. This is like year 10 of a terrible marriage. Oh, dang. Well, that's that's awful. Um, okay. It obviously hints at the dragon eggs being real very early on. Back to Viserys and Dany actually kind of standing up for herself. And I love her relationship with Ser Jorah. The device that they make so Bran can ride, I definitely really appreciated that. Does anyone remember her swordmaster's quote about death? It's been a while and I forget. I meant for Robert and Cersei. That's what I thought you meant. You know what? I know that I have this quote um, saved somewhere on my Kindle. There's so many good quotes in A Song of Ice and Fire. I actually love that. I'm so sorry. There's only one God, the God of death. And what do we say to the God of death? Not today. That's a show quote, I guess. Yeah, I don't think that was his quote in the book at least. Please, Kindle, don't fail me now. I don't want to look it up because I feel like I'm going to spoil myself for something else. Also, thank you guys for spending some time with me, whether you're watching this now or later. I definitely really appreciate you guys. Okay, Daenerys. No one cares about you right now. We'll talk about Daenerys in a second. The end scene honestly made me very uncomfortable, and I think it was supposed to, just to show how absolutely insane she was going. Yeah, that was a show and only one of the few good changes. Mm. I'm looking for this quote right now, and I may not be able to find it actually. It's kind of important because I did really like Syria. I did like this one quote that said, "Some old wounds never truly heal and bleed again at the slightest word." And I don't remember who said that. If someone can tell me, that would be great. But I definitely feel that for in my life, and not to get super sad or anything, but I've definitely talked talked about that and how like if you have something that's happened to you in your life and you have something that happens to you again that's similar, it's like cutting into the same wound and it's never going to heal. That's exactly what this quote was saying, and I thought that that was a awesome, like, emotional quote. That was definitely super relatable. Um, how far back have I gone? Okay, guys, I don't think I'm gonna find it. Should I have been more prepared? Very possibly. Oh, just read a Viserys quote. Viserys is awful. He's one of my least favorite, but you know what? I feel like Sansa was probably my least favorite character. Now hear me out. Why would Sansa be my least favorite character when there are people who do things that are much worse than her? Well, I'm so glad that nobody asked. It's because she has or should have her loyalties to her family, to her father, to her sister, but really, she's only got loyalties to herself. Okay, Viserys was way worse than Sansa. I agree. He's awful. Him and Sansa could have been together. How terrible they are as siblings. That was a heinous thing I just said, I'm sorry. Because I also think the age gap no, not for the age gap, please. I don't need any more age gaps in this freaking story. There's enough. Um, but yeah, Sansa, she was just bad because, like, I feel like she's supposed to be good, but she's just so selfish, and she made so many bad decisions that really derailed our whole freaking operation, our whole freaking story. Um, okay, what are some next okay, Sansa is a kid who actually believes in what she's told about the rule of law and how women should serve their husbands and how her prince will always protect her, etc. Fair. That is very fair. She is probably doing what she thinks is right, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't make me extremely angry. She was wrong and it was a terrible mistake. Definitely. And she definitely realizes that obviously once Joffrey kills her father, now she knows and she'll regret it forever. See, and she's only like what, 13? Like 13 to 16? I think she's 13. Like how what do you really know about the world at that point? Side note, when we're talking about the siblings, I do love John and Arya's relationship. I do love John as a character. And that he took the Night's Watch, and I love what he's doing. And for some reason, I thought he was going to be a bad character, like he was going to be evil. I mean, maybe it changes. I don't know. But I did really like what he was doing for Sam, I believe his name is, the bigger kid on the Night's Watch, and his relationship with his now brothers in the Night's Watch. I just really enjoy him as a character, and also him with the like that he's basically at this point destined to be the I forget what it's called, the leader of the Night's Watch. Because he is serving under the guy. I'm so bad with names. Um, yeah, I know I'm probably making you guys cringe, but like honestly, if we were to meet Lord Commander, thank you. If we were to meet in person, I would probably forget your name immediately. I think I black out when people tell me their name. But that's neither here nor there. It has nothing to do with Game of Thrones. I'm so sorry. Um, what else do I have to say about a Game of Thrones? Spoiler wise, the I'm very interested to see where Game of Thrones goes, where A Song of Ice and Fire goes. And because obviously I just read a Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. I'm very interested to see the next book. I already bought the next book. I need a break though. So I'm currently reading Malice. But I'm very excited to see where it goes and what's going to happen, and who am I going to end up empathizing with, who am I going to end up hating that I previously liked, or vice versa. As I already have an idea now, obviously, um I think Daenerys is going to be a freaking villain because she's definitely got her reasons too. She went through an intense let's talk about her childbirth. Was she supposed to birth a dragon? Is that what that was? Because that's what I'm pretty sure that's what that was. But that it had like maggots in it or something inside of her body. That's disgusting. I'm a very visual person, so I could like see it in my head, and it's disgusting. Like it was all rotted or something. Um, Also the last scene where she's burning her husband and the Magi alive. The husband's dead. I was thinking the Harlequin disease. No, I'm not looking it up. What are you talking about? I'm definitely Severe genetic disorder that mainly affects the skin. Oh, okay, okay. That's fair for Danny's baby. Yeah, that's fair. Definitely could be. I guess I was just thinking dragon but then it wouldn't have made any sense also. Probably caused by magic. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, maybe the baby was, like, somehow burned inside of the womb magically because of I don't know. I don't know. I never claimed to be educated. As a blood sacrifice, only death would pay for life. Yes, and I knew Daenerys' baby was going to die. How she didn't know that, I think she's dumb. But I knew from reading that, I knew immediately, "Yeah, your son's going to die." And now Khal Drogo's dead. Their relationship obviously made me uncomfortable. I don't like how George was like, "Oh, yeah, she's forced into this marriage. She doesn't want to be intimate with him." Oh, all of a sudden she wants to be intimate with him and enjoys these times. That's not that's not how that works. Unless she's fawning, then I guess. But anyway, I the scene was definitely interesting where she's going into her villain era, let's say, where she burns this Magi alive. Honestly, Danny, she told you. She told you. That's on you, girl. Now, was she specific and tell her that Khal Drogo wasn't going to exactly return back to his normal state? Sorry for just butting in. Curious, how far are you into the book? Are you reading the second or third book now? Pap, pap, pap. I'm so sorry. I have read the first book, and I'm taking a break and currently reading Malice by John Gwynne because it took me a very long time to read it, the first book, and I just need a break for a little while. And then, yes, will the A Song of Ice and Fire, intimate moments, and George's description of young women makes me very uncomfortable as a younger woman. Um, but especially being that Daenerys is supposed to be 13, was supposed to be 13, like when this all started. Definitely kind of made me feel very uncomfortable. And then the end scene where there is milk coming out of her as she's like setting her husband on fire and the magi and the eggs for the dragons to come to life and then the dragons breastfeed. Like I said, I'm a very visual person and I don't enjoy seeing any of that in my brain. Um, I'm like cringing thinking about it. But yeah, that's probably my only holdup on the series is just that I do not enjoy those parts of the book, but there those parts are kind of few and far between. I'm sorry, my nose is running. And easily skimmable. Like, the intimate moments are definitely easily skimmable, and again, like I said, I don't think he's romanticizing these inappropriate relationships. Oh, the cringe won't end, but it's not a big focus, at least, agreed. How about the level of violence described so far? Okay, so I I don't really care about gore. I never really have, so general fantasy question for you when you get the chance. Okay, I will come back to that. Level of violence, it's not bad. Um, I haven't seen like war or anything. Now, I was in the Marine Corps, but I haven't seen anything bad or anything like that. So, level of violence doesn't really bother me. I think it's fine. I think it's real. Um, and, like, I read The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I feel like that was my lead up into George R. R. Martin, I feel like, for when it comes to the levels of violence. But when it comes to the intimate moments because of my own life experiences, I do not handle them well, so I just try to skip them. General fantasy question for you from Matt. Did you find the realism, random character death? Whoa. Mm. Oh. Essay, etc., to take away from the magic of the fantasy world, like compared to Lord of the Rings. Um, take away from the magic in what sense? Because I don't feel like the character death was exactly random. I felt like it was kind of placed to be intriguing. And for George, it didn't feel like, oh, well, this is just a random character death. Like, oh, he's just doing this to try to surprise me. It feels like, oh, he's telling me a story. He's telling me what is happening in his world. The essay, that definitely takes me out of the story. And the situations with Daenerys takes me out of the story. But I do feel like to a certain extent, it's it's real. Some of that is unfortunately it's real life. Um, and I hate that. I hate that it is. But I do appreciate that he's not, romanticizing it, like I've said time and time again. Like fantasy as an escape to me personally, so the grittiness kind of took me out of the story a little bit. I agree. I agree, Matt. It definitely did take me the essay takes me out of it. The goriness doesn't really take me out of it. Oh, let me tell you what take me out of it. Tyrion using the restroom and him describing him using the restroom, that took me out. I'm like, "Dog, I get you have the same parts as him, George. I don't. And I don't wanna hear about that. I really don't. I do not care how your characters use the restroom. It is not important to me, and I know that Joe Abercrombie actually does talk some about his characters, having loose guts, if you will. It's just not always necessary, you know what I'm saying? I don't wanna hear about it, personally. I don't wanna read about it. It did take me out, for sure. Like, Lord of the Rings is definitely an easier escape type fantasy book because it is comfier and cozier, and because I already knew where the story was going. Like, I grew up on the movies and then read the books, and I knew where things were going. I was already familiar with the characters, so it was a lot easier for me to immerse myself in that sort of story than it is for, um, a Game of Thrones where I didn't know any of these characters before I went into this story. I didn't know where the story was going to go. I didn't really even know exactly what it was about other than, like, people fighting for the throne and that dragons were gone and now they're back. That's basically yeah. Definitely would not want to live in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. That would be terrible. But would I live in the freaking Shire? Yes, I would. All right. Do we have any more questions? I'm at 58 minutes and I do have my friend over here. She's recovering from her surgery and my husband, and I'm probably going to cook dinner for both of them. So I do have to leave eventually. 6:55 here, California time. If you have to live in one kingdom, which one would it be? Like within the Song of Ice and Fire, I'm guessing. Um, wow. Um, if I had to live in one kingdom, that's really difficult. Um, definitely not the one that's really high in the cave where uh Cat's sister is. Westeros, since there's not is that same? Oh my gosh, not much, not much of Essos in book one. Um, Honestly, I don't know the names. I terrible, terrible. I don't know the names, but I think maybe the the ones with a lot of archers that they had to go to, that it's within some sort of pass. Like there's these towers, and it's like really not built up anymore. Westeros is the Seven Kingdoms. I just don't know the name of the seven kingdoms, like the individual seven kingdoms. I'm like embarrassing myself. I'm so sorry. This is the Eastern content that Daenerys is in. Oh, definitely probably not want to be where Daenerys is. Not gonna lie. Don't like that area. Yeah, I would say I probably need to think more on that to give you like a better educated answer because I um yeah. Okay. Rans, who is your favorite character so far? And is that character your favorite POV too? So I already kind of talked about this a little bit, but I will say it again. So Arya is kind of my favorite character so far, and Tyrion. Um, I also do like the Hound, but the Hound does things that I don't like. But I do kind of like his backstory and his issues with his brother and everything. Like just kind of the complexity there. Is it the Hound? Yeah. Yeah. I got the Hound and Hodor mixed up for a second. But yeah, so Arya, I love Arya because um she kind of reminds me of like myself when I was younger. And I did really like her POV and her training with Syrio and everything like that. But when it comes to favorite POV, I would like to say that probably Tyrion, because it's very interesting to kind of see what he's doing and where he's going and like whose side is he really going to be on? I mean, he's obviously on Tyrion's side. He's on his own side. But, you know, just his like quips, I really enjoy. Um I really enjoy that. While a lot of people hate the Hound in book 1 and they typically like him around book 2 or 3. So, I will say I like him because of the one conversation that he had with Sansa where I knew that the Hound may not be as bad as he seems, even though he did end up doing bad things. I was definitely questioning his character, of course, but I kind of like him. He's not on the bottom of the barrel. He's not Viserys or Sansa or Jaime or Cersei. Just start naming all the people I hate. Arya is by far the most popular character. I love that. I do. I do. Um, who is okay? So there's the Barristan brothers, right? Given that some people will like him in the future books, that's fine because like people have already told me that I'm going to empathize at least with Jaime Lannister, which is a spoiler, but like I am not super serious on spoilers because like I it's about the journey, not the destination, you know? Like I'm definitely interested to see like how do the characters get to where they're going to be, you know? How am I going to empathize? What is going to happen that's going to make me empathize? I think if anything, it keeps me intrigued. So don't worry. Don't worry about that. I'm not I'm not rough and tough on spoilers because like life's too short to be angry about that kind of stuff, you know? I'm just here to have a good time. Um Also piggybacking back, that's the saying. To what Matt was saying about fantasy being escape, to him personally, it is for me as well. I love to escape in my fantasy books. That is why fantasy is my number one genre. That and you have so much room to be complex and to have fun and to be creative. And I love seeing what people can come up with. And I just feel like you get all the normal stuff you would get in fiction, but just better. I don't know. Super biased. Okay. Fun fact about Viserys' death. That is a real way people were killed. Famously, Crassus, who was a Roman aristocrat who fought and lost to Parthia, a real life empire similar to Dothraki. That is interesting. I do enjoy when authors put in um, real stuff that has happened in history because it's kind of showing their knowledge. And it's like, here, this is something that I'm interested in that has happened. This is something I'm drawing attention to that has happened in societies for real, minus the essay stuff. When it comes to like the way that they will kill off people, it's definitely very interesting. So we're talking about the crown on his head being melted onto him, right? I also would not be surprised if because he was tied up to the horse. Yes, the molten gold. He was tied up to the horse as well, and I would not have been surprised if that has happened to people in many different societies. Okay, the way the gold melted so quick is quite inaccurate, and it would have taken quite longer with a better furnace. That makes sense though. But the way that the the thing that happened, Crassus was the richest man in Rome, so it was an apt way to kill him. Also, yes, that is true. Yeah, yeah. I am not gonna lie, I'm not a science person. So, nor am I a geography person. Because I remember someone was saying before in one of my comments that the world of George R. R. Martin is not very geographically correct in the way that the weather could not be possible. And this is where I don't think that far. I just let things be in the world because it's a fantasy, it's their own world. You know, if you want to have a constant winter for like 15 years in one end of your world and then not explain it to me, I don't mind. That's fine with me. I think that there are people who definitely do not feel that way and think that like, you know, um, this has to be correct. Okay. Well, Georgia's not perfect. The world of Ice and Fire has better geography than I think way more than other fantasy worlds. That's fair. I think not thinking too hard about that stuff is the best way to engage with fantasy. It's fantasy for a reason. And then Rand says agree. Yeah, I do too. It's fantasy for a reason. It's made up for a reason. It's called fantasy because it is not real. However, that doesn't mean that things that happen within the books cannot be real. Of like what happens to the people, how they act, certain things that happen within the books. I don't know. It's just my favorite genre. I love it. Fantasy is just so good. It's just so good. It's so fun. Also, fighting with swords, awesome. Bow and arrow. I do archery. Bow and arrow is awesome. I do want to get into some flintlock eventually, though. Some flintlock fantasy, because I think that that's also entertaining. But I definitely like the time period, if you can even call it a time period, that most fantasy that is in what? That's in most fantasy. That's what I can't read and talk at the same time. What is your favorite fantasy book again? Sorry if this was mentioned earlier. So It's actually very difficult for me to think about, like, what is my actual favorite fantasy book of all time. Now, bias, of course, it's bias, it's my opinion, but I do love Lord of the Rings. I do love their religious allegory. I love how much time and love that Tolkien put into it, even after trying to publish, yes, Sword and Sorcery. Thank you, Matt, for the specific subgenre of fantasy, I guess you could call it. Um, but yeah, I I haven't read that much fantasy yet. I haven't read that many books yet. I really just started reading again last year, which has been really excited for me because I know that I have so many good books to um to be up there, in the favorites. I loved Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. Um Definitely was feeling all the emotions, just getting slapped in the face with emotion from Robin Hobb. Um I also loved The Lies of Locke Lamora. Now, the only thing that takes The Lies of Locke Lamora down a bit is that, like, underneath the Lord of the Rings, if I could even compare it to Lord of the Rings, but if we're talking my favorites, why it would not be up there is because I don't feel emotional towards the characters. The end of the Lord of the Rings, it's perfect. It is the perfect ending. And also, Lord of the Rings stands on its own. Now, is it the perfect series ever? No. I mean, technically it's one book, but is Lord of the Rings perfect? No. Nothing ever is. The descriptions can be a bit too much. It can go a bit too far. You're describing trees a bit too much and mountains a bit too much. I grew up in Florida, flat land. So, like, describing mountains, I'm still not seeing it. Like, I it's not working out for me. But um going back, Robin Hobb, now Assassin's Apprentice, also being one of my favorites, cannot be all the way up there either because her pacing is a bit slow. And then A Game of Thrones cannot be up there because the way that George describes women as the narrator, I cannot forgive. I cannot look past that. Like, not even his characters describing other women, but him as the narrator describing a woman is like, mm. And then, oop, okay, Rand said same. That's why I don't like Rings of Power. It removes the hidden spiritual themes of Tolkien. And that's kind of a disservice to Tolkien. Um, Matt, oh, since we were talking Lord of the Rings, I saw an Insta reel talking about whether or not Frodo's failure to toss the ring was a moral one. Do you think it was or wasn't? Personally, I don't think it was. Okay, so I have heard, I don't know if this is necessarily true. Okay, big Lord of the Rings spoilers. If you haven't read or watched The Lord of the Rings yet, that would be a big surprise to me. But at the end, it is theorized that it is not Frodo or Gollum who tosses the ring. It is God. Like like God being the reason that the ring actually goes down, but Frodo had to get it there, you know? One Piece best fantasy. Sorry, I had to mention. Don't be sorry about mentioning One Piece ever. I love One Piece so far. It is great. I've been having a great time. I can't wait to have a live stream about One Piece. It is actually so funny that everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna be a One Piece YouTuber only." No, I love talking about all things fantasy, and One Piece just so happens to be fantasy. I just so happen to love it, and I also love making videos on it as well. Um, but yeah, failure to toss the ring being a moral one, no. When we're going back that, no. I think it was meant to be that way to show, like, if we're talking religious allegory, I think we could go a couple different theories about, okay, they said, I never heard God being the reason, but I like that a lot as an answer. Yeah, so I have heard that God is the reason, and I think part of that goes into, like, we can do all that. Now, I am a Christian. Not gonna force it on anybody or anything like that, but I am very openly a Christian, and I will say that, yeah, that he mentioned in his letters that God is the reason. We as men, we as human need God. We are weak. We are always gonna fail, like, at certain points. We cannot get to certain places without God, is the way that I believe, and I think that that was Tolkien's point as well, if you saw it. However, I think that it can also be very much enjoyed without being religious, without being a Christian, without believing in God. Um, I think that Tolkien was trying to make this story enjoyable for everybody, but also adding in his own beliefs, which I thought was really nice. Um, that it's a story that really everyone can enjoy, and I think that people who do believe in God just enjoy it that that little bit more. Um, Attack on Titan is also peak. Yes, you should read that out as well at some point. I remember, and that it has deep lore. I remember when I tried to watch Attack on Titan when I was younger and just seeing the people with like all muscular and like eating people and stuff, it was very scary. And I was like, this is making me uncomfortable. I'm out. Exit. Like, I've tried to watch the first episode so many times and I know it gets better after that. I also know that it is heavily emotional and I have to be able to prepare myself for that and be like, okay, I gotta be ready for this. Also, you guys are real ones for like sitting here and listening to me talk for like an hour. My butt hurts from sitting, I'm not gonna lie. I watched Attack on Titan by accident when I was 13 and it freaking scarred me. I watched it on purpose when I was about that age, probably. Personally, I also think after Theoden's speech in the Rite of there was a hidden divine support there on how it was written. Fair. Fair. I think that there's a lot of like Aragorn is kind of supposed to be an allegory to Jesus. Um and like the sword being broken, the sword of Narsil being broken is like a representation of us without Christ, which is actually why I have this tattoo. Is like a representation of me without Christ. And then like I have a vine going through it, which is also based on a scripture of basically a representation that God's relationship with me heals the brokenness within me. Because it's like the verse is like, I am the vine, you're the branches. Without me, your life can put forth no fruit. Something like that. And yeah, so but obviously I love Lord of the Rings and fantasy, so it had to be the Sword of Narsil. I'm just sitting editing a video. I want to make a channel too. Heck yeah. And this has been great company while I do it. I hope you do more of these. You know what? I have really been enjoying this because the reason that I wanted to do a channel in the first place is because I would just read and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I want to talk to people about these books that I'm reading right now. Like I just would keep getting these ideas and things that I want to talk about within books. And like I just want to be a part of the conversation. And I think that one of the things that is so great about reading is that it's such a good conversation starter. People see reading as an introverted hobby. And I don't think it is. I think it is meant to be there to create community, to create us having understandings of other people's perspective on life and other people's life experiences. Matt says literally why I'm making a channel. I don't have friends who like anime and manga, and I want to find/make a community and talk about that I can talk about it with. I love that. Let me know when you make the channel. Like, just like plop it down below one of my comments one day or whatever. Just let me know when you make the channel and you post your first video. I would love to support anyone who is also doing YouTube. I think that'd be awesome. And, just create a community of creators and you're welcome. And then also just a community of people who just wanna talk. Like, if you don't wanna have a channel and you just wanna have a conversation about books, fantasy, life, all these kind of things, like, that is absolutely what I'm here for. I'm here to freaking talk to people, and, be a part of the conversation and create conversation and create community here where we can all be supportive and we can talk to each other about the things that we like and just have fun. Like, that's, you know, I think that YouTube can be a good place, you know? Like, it can create good community. You can meet really great people on here. And I am so looking forward to that. So looking forward to, if I can encourage somebody and just brighten someone's day, like just one person, you know, that makes me, feel on top of the world. I think it's awesome. All right, guys. Um, I need to cook dinner. I've really enjoyed this. For everyone who's watching this in post, for everyone who's watching this currently live, I appreciate all of you guys. I really look forward to doing another one of these. I'm not going to lie to you. I will probably be doing a watching your channel has been an inspiration. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Matt. Um, the next live stream I do will probably be about One Piece. Not gonna lie. Heck yeah. Enjoy your cooking. Nice dream. Have a nice night. Thank you. You guys all have a good night or a good day. Whatever time zone you're in. I really appreciate it. And yeah, you guys are awesome. I enjoyed this. It was really fun. I was very nervous and you guys made this feel just like home, like community. It's good. All right. You guys have a good one and God bless.